Chapter 21 of Lorna Doone. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Michelle Harris. Lorna Doone by R.D. Blackmore. Chapter 21. Lorna ends her story. It is not a 12-month yet, although it seems 10 years agone, since I blew the downy globe to learn the time of day, or set beneath my chin the veinings of the varnished buttercup, or fired the foxglove cannonade, or made a captive of myself with dandelion fetters. For then I had not very much to trouble me in earnest, and went about romancing gravely, playing at bo peep with fear, making for myself strong heroes of gray rock or fir tree, adding to my own importance, as the children love to do. As yet I had not truly learned the evil of our living, the scorn of law, the outrage, and the sorrow caused to others. It even was a point with all to hide the roughness from me, to show me but the gallant side, and keep in shade the other. My grandfather, Sir Ensor Doone, had given strictest order, as I discovered afterwards, that in my presence all should be seemly, kind, and vigilant. Nor was it very difficult to keep most part of the mischief from me, for no Doone ever robs at home, neither do they quarrel much except at times of gambling. And though Sir Ensor Doone is now so old and growing feeble, his own way he will have still, and no one dare deny him. Even our fiercest and most mighty swordsmen, seared from all sense of right or wrong, yet have plentiful sense of fear when brought before that white-haired man. Not that he is rough with them, or querulous, or rebukeful, but that he has a strange soft smile, and a gaze they cannot answer, and a knowledge deeper far than they have of themselves. Under his protection I am as safe from all those men, some of whom are but little akin to me, as if I slept beneath the roof of the King's Lord Justiciary. But now, at the time I speak of, one evening of last summer, a horrible thing befell, which took all play of childhood from me. The 15th day of last July was very hot and sultry, long after the time of sundown, and I was paying heed of it, because of the old saying that if it rained then, rain will fall on 40 days thereafter. I had been long by the waterside at this lower end of the valley, plaiting a little crown of woodbine crocketed with sprigs of heath, to please my grandfather, who likes to see me gay at supper time. Being proud of my tiara, which had cost some trouble, I set it on my head at once, to save the chance of crushing, and carrying my gray hat, ventured by a path not often trod. For I must be home at the supper time, or grandfather would be exceeding wrath, and the worst of his anger is that he never condescends to show it. Therefore, instead of the open mead, or the windings of the river, I made short cut through the ash trees covert which lies in the middle of our vale, with the water skirting or cleaving it. You have never been up so far as that, at least to the best of my knowledge, but you see it like a long gray spot from the top of the cliffs above us. Here I was not likely to meet any of our people, because the young ones are afraid of some ancient tale about it, and the old ones have no love of trees where gunshots are uncertain. It was more almost than dusk down below the tree leaves, and I was eager to go through, and be again beyond it. For the gray dark hung around me, scarcely showing shadow, and the little light that glimmered seemed to come up from the ground. For the earth was strown with the winter spread and coil of last year's foliage, the lichen claws of chalky twigs, and the numberless decay which gives a light in its decaying. I, for my part, hastened shyly, ready to draw back and run from hare or rabbit or small field mouse. At a sudden turn of the narrow path, where it stopped again to the river, a man leaped out from behind a tree, and stopped me, and seized hold of me. I tried to shriek, but my voice was still, I could only hear my heart. "Now, Cousin Lorna, my good cousin," he said, with ease and calmness, "your voice is very sweet, no doubt, from all that I can see of you. But I pray you keep it still, unless you would give to dusty death your very best cousin and trusty guardian, Allan Brandir of Loch Awe." "You, my guardian?" I said, for the idea was too ludicrous. and ludicrous things always strike me first, through some fault of nature. "I have in truth that honour, madam," he answered, with a sweeping bow, "unless I err in taking you for Mistress Lorna Doone." "You have not mistaken me. My name is Lorna Doone." He looked at me with gravity, and was inclined to make some claim to closer consideration upon the score of kinship; but I shrunk back, and only said, "Yes, my name is Lorna Doone." "Then I am your faithful guardian, Allan Brandir of Loch Awe, called Lord Allan Brandir, son of a worthy peer of Scotland. Now will you confide in me?" "I confide in you!" I cried, looking at him with amazement. "Why, you are not older than I am." "Yes, I am, 3 years at least. You, my ward, are not 16. I, your worshipful guardian, am almost 19 years of age." Upon hearing this, I looked at him, for that seemed then a venerable age; but the more I looked, the more I doubted, although he was dressed quite like a man. He led me in a courtly manner, stepping at his tallest to an open place beside the water, where the light came as in channel, and was made the most of by glancing waves and fair white stones. "Now am I to your liking, cousin?" he asked, when I had gazed at him until I was almost ashamed, except at such a stripling. "Does my cousin Lorna judge kindly of her guardian and her nearest kinsman? In a word, is our admiration mutual?" "Truly I know not," I said; "but you seem good natured, and to have no harm in you. Do they trust you with a sword?" For in my usage among men of stature and strong presence, this pretty youth, so tricked and slender, seemed nothing but a doll to me. Although he scared me in the wood, now that I saw him in good twilight, lo, he was but little greater than my little self, and so tasselled and so ruffled with a mint of bravery, and a green coat barred with red, and a slim sword hanging under him, it was the utmost I could do to look at him half gravely. "I fear that my presence hath scarce enough of ferocity about it," he gave a jerk to his sword as he spoke, and clanked it on the brook stones. "Yet do I assure you, cousin, that I am not without some prowess, and many a master of defence hath this good sword of mine disarmed. Now if the boldest and biggest robber in all this charming valley durst so much as breathe the scent of that flower coronal, which doth not adorn, but is adorned," here he talked some nonsense, "I would cleave him from head to foot, ere ever he could fly or cry." "Hush," I said, "talk not so loudly, or thou mayest have to do both thyself, and do them both in vain." For he was quite forgetting now, in his bravery before me, where he stood and with whom he spoke, and how the summer lightnings shone above the hills and down the hollow. And as I gazed on this slight fair youth, clearly one of high birth and breeding, albeit over boastful, a chill of fear crept over me, because he had no strength or substance, and would be no more than a pincushion before the great swords of the Doones. "I pray you be not vexed with me," he answered in a softer voice, "for I have travelled far and sorely for the sake of seeing you. I know right well among whom I am, and that their hospitality is more of the knife than the salt stand. Nevertheless, I am safe enough, for my foot is the fleetest in Scotland. And what are these hills to me? Tush! I have seen some border forays among wilder spirits and craftier men than these be. Once I mind some years agone, when I was quite a stripling lad—" "Worshipful guardian," I said, "there is no time now for history. If thou art in no haste, I am, and cannot stay here idling. Only tell me how I am akin and under wardship to thee, and what purpose brings thee here." "In order, cousin, all things in order, even with fair ladies. First, I am thy uncle's son. My father is thy mother's brother, or at least thy grandmother's, unless I am deceived in that which I have guessed, and no other man. For my father, being a leading lord in the councils of King Charles the Second, appointed me to learn the law, not for my livelihood, thank God, but because he felt the lack of it in affairs of state. But first your leave, young Mistress Lorna, I cannot lay down legal maxims without aid of smoke." He leaned against a willow tree, and drawing from a gilded box a little dark thing like a stick, placed it between his lips,